Good evening. John Lewis, 1550 Surrey-Brook Court. I want to follow up from the last meeting a little bit. I know in October 2013, the board selected Clark Caton Hints, a New Jersey firm, with a $115,000 no-bid contract to be the architect for the community center. The firm had a prior record of pay-to-play violations with the Mercer County Republicans and was fired in Washington Township. But at the time of the selection, the board said they needed to go without a bid because they wanted to save time and money.
It was something we didn't have to bid, nor were required to bid.
Sure. I understand that. The board's response
that
was
firm, this is the third community center that this architectural firm has done for Lower Makefield Township.
Right. So let me continue if I could. The board advised CCH that they were planning on a budget of $1 million for construction. Clark Caton Hints told the board to plan on a time frame of 6 months for the design and construction documents and 6 to 9 months for construction for a total of 12 to 18 months. Now that's October of 2013. It's now 17 months later. The proposed budget has gone from approximately $1.2 million to $2.65 million. Now that's a 121% increase. And yet we're months from even starting construction.
Just to be fair, we increased the size of the community center by double. So the 1.2, to your point, was for a 4,000 square foot center.
Yeah. No, if you go back to
this board, wait a minute, let me finish. This board, just to make sure you're presenting an accurate picture, this board doubled the size of it based on the input from our community. Now, also, I want you to remember, the EAC and the Planning Commission recommended that there be additional site plan work to save the tree line. So when you present that something went up 122%, I'd ask you to be fair, because you didn't say that in your comment that we doubled the size of the community center, and we also took up $600,000 of site work because of feedback from our advisory boards. So the Planning Commission and the EAC both strongly came in front of this board and recommended those additional costs.
And we haven't authorized anything up to this point. Nothing's been authorized.
I understand the agenda you're following, but please, and I think we've criticized you in the past, be fair. All we're asking you is be fair in your commentary.
I'd like to be fair in my commentary if I get more than a sentence out.
John, let me...
You've gotten more than a sentence out.
No. The cost per square foot estimate for construction was provided at $215, right, in the last meeting. If you go back to the minutes, I went back and I looked at them, and I'm being fair about this. The $215 number struck a chord with me. So if we're talking about size increase, which you're more than welcome to say, hey, we moved from 7,500 to 8,000 square feet. You know, I followed that process, and I followed what the board said in October of 2013. I also went to RS Means, and what they do is they're an industry source of information on materials, labor, and construction cost. And if you look at the RS Means data for community center construction, this is online, you can find it, the average cost per square foot using union labor, because why not, is just $139 per square foot. Okay, that's nationwide. You run the numbers for Pittsburgh, which I could find was $152, and even if you're building in Newark, which is a little closer to Clark Caton Hints territory in New Jersey, that's $168. So,
but what does that I want to know what that $168 includes.
Plus,
can you tell me?
Sure, I can show you the website.
Can you list me right now what the please read off what that $168, because what I'm telling you is you're not considering all the site development costs.
No, please explain. I did apples to apples.
The $215 that you quoted.
That's $1.7 million for construction cost, and it's an apples-to-apples comparison. Does not include the site stuff that you mentioned. I'm being honest and fair with you on that.
So. But keep going.
Well, you're welcome to impugn my character. I'm bringing to you facts. So
I would dispute whether they're facts, John.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Lewis,
Well,
what is your point
No, hold on.
Please, get to your point.
You're welcome to dispute. And you can do that when I finish. I only had another paragraph. You know, the board's elected to provide oversight to Clark Caton Hints, okay? And they're the professional services firm, yet we have no explanation as to why our cost per square foot is 55% higher than the national average. Now, you can go back and say, well, we changed things and stuff like that. But if you go back to the minutes of October 13th and what you said your budget was and what you said you were committing to, which was 1.5 million tops, now you've come back and you've changed that parameter dramatically.
John, we raised it because of the input of our planning and our environmental action committee. So what I'm saying is the number you have me quoted on, absolutely. But that was before we understood the ramification to the trees. We understood the ramifications to drainage. Now, my point is, this board hasn't agreed to any $215. We haven't agreed to build this thing at all.
That's right.
We have not allocated $1 to this. And if you think this board is going to agree to $215, you're wrong. So my point is, you're saying that we've agreed to something. I want you to go back in those minutes and find the vote of where I and the members of this board agreed to that $215. We got a quote. We got a bid. And my point is, nobody on this board's happy with those bids. So what I'm telling you is you're portraying this in a limelight that's unfair. We have not agreed to this. I want you to give me the minutes that we agreed to $215. We haven't. We haven't spent $1 of our township taxpayer monies to build a center that costs $215 a square foot. You know that, but you don't want to say that. Now, what I'm saying to you is be fair. We got a high bid. No one's happy with that bid.
We don't have a bid.
Well,
okay.
No one. I mean, we got a quote.
We don't have a bid.
We have a quote.
We haven't agreed to anything. They haven't come back to us. The guy gave us an estimate. He said he was conservative on his estimate. Okay. So this is all premature until these bids come in and we find out what it is.
Now, we know you're running for supervisor, and it's fun to get up here and start your campaign.
Year.
But my point is, be fair. We haven't made a vote on $215 a square foot. We haven't even said that we are going forward.
John, if I may.
Sure.
Your point about October 2013. In March of 2013, there was a vote that the supervisors did vote on, and Dobby wasn't here, to be fair. It was a 3-to-1 vote on option 3, the scale size of the facility. So the 7,500 to 8,000 square foot facility was voted on, and it was picked for option 3, which was a larger option. So at the time, the dollar amounts that you're talking about, we knew the scale. I think that you're 100% correct about that. We knew the scale because March of 2013, we voted on it. It was a 3-to-1 vote. Dobby wasn't here. The others voted on a larger project. Now we're looking, and I said it at the last meeting, we got the bid, we got the estimate in, and the dollars came in higher than I think anybody would have foreseen. Because if you go back and look at the articles in the paper, $1.5 million was what was being discussed. That's what people were talking. That's what we were talking about as supervisors. That's what the public thought that we were going to be spending on, and now it's coming in probably 2.4, 2.5 estimates. I mean,
we can always change our mind, correct? Based on this new information, we can change our mind as a board. I am not locked in. None of my supervisor colleagues are locked in to a decision to go forward with a larger. If that larger one was way more expensive than I thought, then guess what? We'll scale back.
Again, I want to reiterate, we have not approved anything. We have not seen a bid. The bids are out. They're working on them. So, but we just understand. We have spent.
Too,
excuse me, I'm
I
speaking
find
here.
it very curious that you bring this up, and Mr. Benedetto has the notes as well, ready to tee us up. Knows exactly what we said back in July of 2012 or whatever, March of 2012, 2013. This is so interesting that you come up and he's got the notes ready to go. Boy, does this seem coordinated.
Okay.
It's not
right.
If I would
no,
like to
I'm going
make
to,
a
excuse
point.
me, Dobby, is there something you wanted to add?
I just, to finish my...
This is an ambush.
To finish my point is that, again, this board has not approved anything. We haven't seen the bids. The bids are out. They haven't come back yet. So all this is conjecture. It's all like, oh, my gosh, this is what you said back when and where. We haven't approved or appropriate $1 to this. So please understand we've got a long ways to go. And if you remember the last meeting, John, what I said was I voted to put it out,
you were
but I was
concerned with the sticker
extremely
shock. Yeah.
concerned. And I was a yes vote to go out for bid, but I was not a yes vote if it came back in at 2.4.
Right.
So Okay.
And with respect, what I'm suggesting here is not to derail the project, but what I am suggesting is rougher and tougher oversight here, asking tougher questions, pushing back on Clark Caton hints, and suggesting to find out why there's such a disparity here. Now, if I can do this on the internet and I can look at it and say, hey, it seems out of the range of normal. And the moment we get that price, the first thing we do is we say, well, we'll lop off LEED certification, silver LEED status, without assessing whether it's going to impact the total cost of ownership of the property. Will it increase it? Will it decrease it? Are we being penny wise or pound foolish? Without having a true real plan as to how we're going to operate the community center post-launch in terms of cost and support. I know there was a discussion of getting volunteer support. The point I'm trying to make here is I'm asking you politely to suggest to dig in a little further here to make sure that we build the center in a cost-effective manner.
Thank you for your input, Mr.
That's
Lewis.
exactly what I'm going to do.
John, you brought up one point, though, that I wanted to ask Terry or Jeff Garten about. Responsible contractor ordinance. Do we still have that on the books?
Yes.
The answer, I believe, is yes.
So, to your point about the average cost per square foot for union labor, and I'll be perfectly blunt and honest about this, I don't see any reason why we should have a responsible contractor
Well,
ordinance.
but aside from that, you still pay prevailing wages because you're using public dollars.
Yes, we have to pay
You have to pay
prevailing wage.
prevailing wages, yes.
So-
Irrespective of responsible
But if we
contract.
didn't have a responsible contractor ordinance,